Hey YouTube, league turnover today. Two good leagues. We have the Open Great League and Halloween Cup. Halloween Cup's always kind of a fun one. And I went over it this morning, teams and rankings. The rankings have evolved from last year. It's a cup that's on every year. Poison and Bug, two of the five typings in the meta, have been buffed in the last couple seasons. So the meta is a little different than previous. You can go check out top teams there and rankings just to know what's going on if you're playing the Halloween Cup. Otherwise, it is Open Great League. It was on last week. We just had 200 battles on the Go Battle weekend. And before I get into some teams, which some of mine, some of Axon's, I just need to talk about the state of the Great League meta because I played all 200 games this weekend. And man, am I so sick of Gastrodon, Credilli, Corviknight. Sometimes on the same team, other times just pretty much one of those seems to be on every single team that is out there. And I get it. You look at the rankings, they're all pretty highly ranked. I just find that the meta, although there are strong options that in the 20s, 30s, I've talked about this before, how you can go down to the 40s and 50s and find a Pokemon that is usable, right? You got 43, Steelix, Annihilate at 41, Steelix at 43, Dunsparce, I've seen a bunch of those at 45, Shadow Scissors at 48, Runerigus at 50, Lapras at 51, Blastoise at 53. Plenty of usable Pokemon outside of the top 50. But inside the top 15, it seems like water, ground, flying, and ghost is the meta at this point. Corsola, Ghost, Credilli. Credilli is as the safe swap too. Not one of those I mentioned, but Credilli is just everywhere. Gastrodon, Mudboy, Azumarill, Water, Marowak, Ground, Dusclops, Ghost, Stunfisk, Ground, Dusknoir, Ghost, Flyer in Altaria, Flyer in Corviknight. And then you're getting out to like the 20s, and then you're starting to get some of these dragons, and then your Steel, Empoleon, Ferret as a safe swap, Wigglytuff in there as well, Clodsire as their ground. Man, it just seems like a pretty stale-ish meta, and I was very frustrated this weekend that the only teams that seemed to work were the ones that were very similar in terms of the Pokemon and the strategy. So I'm going to go over some of those right now just to give you an idea. This one was a Talonflame, Credilli, Scizor. Basically, I saw so many Bastiodons on the weekend, so I put Talonflame on the lead. Credilli is a safe swap just because it has enough coverage for everything, and then Scizor in the back because I was also seeing Carbinks, and you hit super effective against the rock with Scizor. This team does leave you a bit vulnerable to waters, so Gastrodon's okay because you have Trailblaze with Scizor that if you have a bit of energy or shields, you can like just one-shot it with Trailblaze. Plus Fly does put on pressure from the Talonflame, and then you have Credilli as grass. So you can work around some of these water Pokemon and the Mudboys as well. So overall balanced team started insanely strong with this 8-0, followed by 4 losses. So it was one of those like felt super strong and then not good and then inconsistent. And it's just like, so I think overall, I like the idea. Some of these second and third teams are the ones that are more balanced, which is just, you'll see a lot of these Flyer, Ground, safe swap. Again, oldest core in the game is Skarmory, Swampert. Some variation of that without the same typings. Drifblim, Corviknight, Togekiss, Pharaoh, all seem to be the options for the flying. Marowak, Gastrodon in particular, some Quagsire, more Clodsire. Did I say Clodsire already? No, I don't know if I said Clodsire yet, but those are your sort of grounds. Safe swap, Credilli, Ferret, Dunsparce. Some variation of that balanced team seems to be coming out everywhere. And this is one, and I think one of these other ones are very similar. Not the exact same, but more or less sort of the balance, like a ground. I feel like every team needs to have a ground on it, just because Bastiodon and Carbink seem to be showing up more, and ground just generally seems to be unchecked right now because it's weak to water. But depending on the water, you can actually, like with Gastrodon, take neutral to it, or Marowak out shield it and be okay against some water Pokemon. But otherwise, grass, pretty much non-existent, and ice, yes, there's some Dugong and some Ace Sandslash, but not much. There's really a lack of ice this season that I've noticed, so that makes these grounds just even that much stronger this season. So Charjabug on the lead. I wanted an electric. Again, the electric flying core is pretty up there. But I went to Charger Bug because I've used it in the Toronto Regional a couple seasons ago, and it was so strong. And I know there's a lot of grounds out there. Like, you can't run away from the grounds. So if you use the Dedenne, you're just like really in trouble where ground is hitting super effective against you. So I went to Charger Bug that the bug neutralizes the ground. So you take neutral to it, and X-Scissor can hit neutral against ground as well. So like the Gastrodon matchup is actually a pretty good matchup because you can take out Gastrodon in 2 X-Scissors, with both such being only single resisted. So that team seemed to work there. Another favorite is Scizor. Only has one weakness, and that is fire. So have it on the lead, over shield, 2 extremely bulky Pokemon in the back. Corsola could be a safe swap. Azumarill covers obviously all your fire weaknesses. Corsola is only really going to be weak to like Dark and Ghost, and you can hit super effective against Ghost, and then your Dark weaknesses beaten by Azumarill, and Corsola can deal with most electric and stuff and grass, that you can just kind of balance each other out there. So shielding early, more or less a balanced team, just kind of relying up front on the Scizor kind of running through. And then you have a few from Accent here. Couple ABB. This one's ABB style to a certain extent, but it's not. So Zweilous, I've mentioned Zweilous. I'm glad he's posted this, and I think maybe Homeslice posted one with Zweilous too. I've mentioned Zweilous a few times now, and it was because it's so highly ranked. It was like top 20, top 25, and used nowhere. And I'm like, this is one of those that does not make sense to me. Like, why is it so highly ranked? I understand it in theory. Dark Pulse is a really nice move. Dragon Breath got reworked, so you get into only 12 there. Guzzlord is still strong, so it's like Guzzlord light to a certain extent, so I get it. But I think that like Dark Dragon makes you like double weak to Fairy. You're weak to fighting, weak to ice. But also the Dragon resists water, resists electric, so stuff like that. So you have two steals in the back. Now Corviknight can draw out a fire and do okay against a lot of fires because you have the sand attack, which hits you effective against fire, and then you have some bulk, and then you have payback with just like chips and air cutter, potentially a bait move and boosts your attack potentially. Whereas Scizor is like, if you see a fire, you just delete it in, especially incinerate user, you're just delete it in 2. So you could do it one of 2 ways. You either roll the dice and hope you don't see a fire in the back, or you try and draw out a fire with Corviknight. The problem with trying out a fire with Corviknight is you may also draw out an electric. You may also draw out a Dedenne. So yes, you can hit super effective with this sand attack, but Dedenne kind of leaves you vulnerable the front 2 anyway. So, you know, again, it's not a true ABB because they have different secondary typings, which greatly affects your ability to like pull out one of those. But a more balanced team is sort of Malamar and Corviknight and Blastoise in the back. You are W2 electric in the back, but you can kind of work around that because Blastoise spams the Hydros. Psywave user, very fast charging, hard hitting with the superpower, even in bad matchups. Like that's those Psywave superpowers, even against fairies, like really adds up. And you're weak to fairy, so that's where the flyer steel comes into play. Blastoise as a safe swap. Yes, understood that you are double weak to electric, but again, you can kind of spam your way through those matchups. Hint, Corviknight, just its strength here, eh? You know, weak to fighter on the front. Gonna have Corviknight's weak to electric, so you got the balance there. And then I already talked about, I guess it was in a previous, but last week, why Dust Noir is a very strong safe swap. Dust Noir is a ghost. There's only 2 weaknesses to Ghost. There's 2 weaknesses and one thing that's going to cause you problems. Ghost is weak to other ghosts, so you will hit super effective against each other. Ghost is weak to Dark, which you will have the Dynamic Punch to hit super effective against Dark. And then Ghost will be resisted by normal typing, which you can hit super effective with Dynamic Punch. So it really gives you the ability to cover a lot of your weaknesses. Astonish is a hard hitting move. The spam's pretty quick that you can kind of flip swap if you need to. I mean, I think all three of the top GBL content creators, Axon, Homeslice, and Yonkis, all put out this Altaria and Empoleon core. I suck because I tried this core on the weekend and it did not work for me at all. But it's very straightforward. Altaria, double weak to ice. Altaria weak to fairy. Steel, water will resist those. Steel, water weak to electric and weak to fighting and weak to ground. Altaria covers all those. Altaria has some bulk to offset Empoleon's a little more glassiness. Extremely, extremely balanced core. I understand why it makes sense. Just did not work for me. So balanced core, the safe swap will be Malamar. And I just talked about even against fairies, the Psy Waves and Superpower really add up. So you draw out a potential fairy with your Malamar, chip it a ton with the Psy Wave Superpower, punish it with your Empoleon, and then Altaria roams free in the back there. And then it's just a balanced team. You have your Pharaoh, weak to ice and in particular in this meta, electric. You have Mudboy, only weakness is ground. Only weakness is grass. And then you have Drapion as your safe swap. So just very balanced team. And look, a balanced team with a flyer and a ground Pokemon with the safe swap. Like, I understand the meta. I don't like this meta right now. It felt like, and they really reworked a lot of the moves this season. Like, they gave Peck to a bunch of Pokemon and I think buffed it. They buffed Drill Peck. They redid Dragon Breaths. And it just feels like last couple seasons with some of these reworks to the moves and evolving meta, they gave a lot of Pokemon more play without making certain typings too powerful. It felt like the bugs had some play. Like the bugs got buffed and had a ton of play. And this season, too many flyers got buffed. If we bring back up the rankings here, like we had, this is a little off book, which welcome to my channel. We had 1 million flyers at one point in the meta. Altaria, Pelipper, Noctowl, Mandibuzz, and a bunch of others. Like a really, really top heavy flying. Jumpluff in there. A bunch of them got nerfed. So then it felt like we were at almost like a shortage of flyers. And then this season, they just buffed, like I said, I think it's either they buffed Peck or gave it to people or both. They buffed Drill Peck. The Dragon Breath rework gave these some play. I think did Fly get reworked in the previous couple seasons or added and it's just a good move? So now all of a sudden you have, look at that. Gligar in top 20 is like almost never used, but Altaria, Corviknight, Gligar, Galarian Moltres, Murkrow, Togekiss, and Talonflame here at 79.86 are used way more than their ranking showcases. Like both of them are used constantly on teams. And then if a Pharaoh's at 145, again, this is even energy, even shield scenario. Pharaoh plays better with energy. So Pharaoh's used a ton, and all of a sudden you have 1 million flying, which helps because you have 1 million ground, and ground has been meta forever, but not surprising when you have, look at that top 30 here, even top 40 with Steelix, Gastrodon, Marowak, Stunfisk, Gligar, Toedscruel, Clodsire, Steelix, Runerigus, like just a crap ton of ground. And it just feels like there's so many teams that are running that flying ground core, which has been a core since season 1 of GBL. And it seems like it's always been such an overpowered, balanced core that it's just truly someone will have at least one flyer and one ground on every single team. And then it feels like basically alignment dependent. And if you don't have answers for like any of these, because it's tough to get an answer for this, because again, I mentioned there's not a lot of ice, there's like no grass, so you can have just the ground feeling overpowered at times, and and then not a ton of answers to the flyers because, again, not a ton of ice. There's some electric, but then you just offset that with the ground, right? So the meta feels weird. I don't know. That's just my take on it. And again, I have 200 battles that I just did on Saturday, Sunday here that is fresh in my mind here about what I was seeing. So let me know if you are feeling the same about the meta and what you are seeing. I went a little, not even a little off book, because 2 of the 3 are very meta, but I went with the team. I dropped a ton, and then I used a team that I just got back like 150, 175 elo in 3 sets. And I can't tell whether it's because I found a team that sort of deals with a lot of it takes elements of this and elements of a core breaker together to beat that, or I'm just beating up on 2,500 elo players because I dropped so much and I shouldn't be down there, right? I was at 2815 like a week ago, and I dropped to like below 2,500. I was like 2450. So part of me thinks I'm just like beating up on players that I shouldn't be in that elo right now anyways. I just kind of had such a bad, like terrible weekend that it dropped me lower than I should be. So maybe I'm beating up on them, or maybe I found like a good team. I don't know. I'll let you know. I plan to play Halloween Cup to start, a few Halloween Cup teams. I've already got a few Great League teams for myself and other subscribers who submitted. So those will come this week, and then I'll showcase this Great League team probably sometime towards later in the week. Play a few Great Leagues, play a few Halloween Cups for the first few days. Maybe go back to Great League. Again, I will put out a poll, but let me know which one you are playing this week. Anyways, that is it. Sorry for this. Not a side rant. It's a side discussion. I think it's very valuable if you're going to play the Great League. You need to know what the meta is. So one thing, I always have my finger on the meta. Whether I can play to it and whether I can play within it is a different question. But one thing that I will always be one of the top content creators on is understanding the meta. And if you're new to this channel, go back to, what month are we in here? Go back 2 months ago to my overrated, underrated. And my underrateds were Fret, Dusclops was down at 90, 80. It's now at number 6. I was like, that's way too underrated. Fret was at like 90, 100. It's at 26. Blastoise was at like 150. It's at 53. Core Breakers, Abomasnow, even though it's not highly ranked, like I could see all this stuff in advance before the season even started, and every single thing that I kind of called out, I knew it. You can see where the meta is going. At least I can, but I can't take advantage of it. I'm just not a good enough battler, or like I don't know. Maybe like I'm going through like an existential crisis here, but like it's difficult. It's annoying when you can like see the meta, understand the meta, and then not take advantage of the meta, because either you're not good enough or you're not team building good enough within the meta. So I don't know. Anyways, that's very aside. So with that, before I treat you guys like a therapist, I will say thanks for watching and see you guys in the next one.